What we're going to be looking at in the next couple of exercises is how we can create a responsive photo gallery. This is an example of what the final product is going to look like. So we're going to continue developing our orchid website. This will actually be the Our Flowers page, and it will have some text, and then it'll display thumbnails of orchids. And if you click on any of these photographs, it'll open a large lightbox type of window, and the user can navigate through the images by clicking the forward or previous buttons. They can also click a button that will allow this to create an automatic slideshow that displays the images automatically. And then finally, there's going to be an option for the user to close this full screen view. In addition to that, you can see that at the top of the screen there is a title of this particular image. So as we flip through, you can see that the title at the top of the screen changes as well. And this, of course, is fully responsive, so if I resize my window, the images are going to resize and fit on any size screen, as well as the grid overlay that displays is going to change depending on the width of the screen, and it will just kind of reconfigure depending on how much room there is available. We'll start off by making the HTML that we need in order to make this function, as well as creating our CSS. We're going to begin working from the index page that we had built in one of the previous exercises. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to save as, and I'm going to save this into a subdirectory and name it Our Flowers. And actually, before I do that, I think I'll make a link to this page just so we can navigate back and forth from the index page to the Our Flowers page. So instead of having this be a null link, I'm going to go from the home page anyways into the Pages folder, and then I will access the ourflowers.html page, which is what we're going to call this particular page that we'll build. In addition to that, I want the logo that displays at the top of the page to be a link back to the home page. So we already have a link tag here, and I'm just going to have this link back to the home page. So on the home page we don't really need that, but I'm going to put this in here so that as I build the next series of pages, I'll be reminded that that link is part of it. So again, from the home page I would just access index.html. I don't have to actually go into a directory. Once we save our subdirectories, though, we'll need to update this link, but we'll do this when we're done. I'm going to save this page, and then I'm simply going to do File, Save As, and I'll save this into the appropriate directory. Here's the folder where I'm going to be saving the files. I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call it Pages. And inside my Pages folder, I'll rename this file Our Flowers. .html, and I'm going to save the page. Now that the page has been saved, if we preview this in our browser, so here's my home page, and if I click Our Flowers, it's going to take me to a page that's completely unstyled and obviously missing images. That's because now I've saved this page in my subdirectory and I need to update the paths to these various items. So we'll go back into our code editor, and I'm just going to quickly go through and update the paths to everything that's linking. The first thing is my scripts file. I'll need to come up out of the Pages folder and then find scripts, and I'll need to do this for every instance of where I'm accessing a script, and or my CSS will be treated the same way. So I'll just add the .. so I can come out of the Pages directory and find the appropriate directory. Same thing's going to happen to our link to the home page, and then obviously the links to the images are going to have to update as well. So again, up out of the Pages folder into the Images folder in order to find this particular image. I'm not going to worry about the content that is appearing on the page, as this will be replaced. So I'm actually going to select the article that contains the various information that's displaying on our page, and we'll delete all of that. So I just have my section tag, my navigational elements, and the closing section tag and the footer. Those are the only things that I want. If I save the page now and we go back into our browser and refresh, you can now see that the page is reminiscent of what we had before. Obviously no content displays on the page, and that's because we don't have anything on the page yet. So let's add some content onto our page. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create an article tag inside of the section tag. This article tag is going to contain an H1 and a paragraph of introductory text. I also need to update my link to the Our Flowers page, as I won't have to go out of the pages directory. Again, we're just going to be linking to its own page, but I'll just change this in case I build out other pages. I'll be reminded to create the links so that they are going to the appropriate location. We'll save the page, and if we look in our browser, you can now see that I have some text that's displaying on the screen. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to create another article tag, and this is going to contain the photographs that we'll use for our thumbnail of gallery images. I'll create an article tag, and on this article tag I'm going to give it a specific class of photos. This will allow me to hook the items within this particular location independently of the rest of the items that may display elsewhere on my site. Inside of the article tag, I'm going to begin by creating an unordered list. The unordered list is going to contain list items which will display the images that I want to have as part of my gallery. So I'm going to create an unordered list. We'll give this an ID of photo gallery, and again, that's just so I can uniquely target this particular unordered list. And then within the unordered list, we're going to have list items, and the list items are going to contain the links. And currently we'll just make our links null links. And then within the link I'm going to use an image tag, and I'll use the src attribute so that I can point to the image that I want to display. And what I'm going to be calling is the images that are the thumbnail instances of the images. Let me just show you my folder with the images so that you see how the directory is set up. Here's the folder that we're working on. If I go into my image directory, I have a bunch of images, and I have two sets of the same image. I have a large image and I have a small cropped thumbnail version of the image. My images are simply called 01 orchid-small or 01 orchid-large, and then that just repeats throughout, indicating the small and the large version of my images. So what I'll do is for the image source attribute, I'm going to point to the image. So again, I need to come out of the directory I'm currently in, I need to go into the images folder, and I need to call the image that I want to display on my screen. We should add an alt tag for accessibility reasons. And then finally I'll close the image tag. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to make the link to the large instance of the image. I'll just copy the name right here and paste this in, and then I'm going to switch out the name so that it points to the large version of my image. So what we have is we have a list item that contains a link that links to the large image, and then the link itself is going to be a small thumbnail version of the image. If we save and check this in the browser, this is what my page currently looks like. And if I click on this particular image, you'll see that it opens in a separate window and it's just displaying the image. I've actually navigated away from my website, and the path to this file is just the path to the file. It doesn't actually exist inside of an HTML document. I'll have to click the back button to get back to my page, but this is currently how this gallery is going to function. The good news is that although this isn't a very elegant solution, it is a solution that would work if someone did not have JavaScript enabled. We are going to be using JavaScript for this example, but we want to make sure that we provide adequate fallback content and functionality for those users that may not have JavaScript on and/or any of the latest bells and whistles. There is one additional bit of HTML that I'm going to add into my code. On the A tag, I'm going to add the title attribute. And the title attribute is an attribute that I'll be styling with CSS in order to add the names to my thumbnail images. So I'm going to give each of the images a unique title attribute that describes what the picture is about. The title attribute does not have to match the alt tag, although in some situations they may be the same. Now that you see how my list items are going to be structured, I'm going to add the additional list items. The structure is going to be the same for all of my list items. I'll just switch out the images and the titles and the alt tags. So I'll just go ahead and do that quickly and then return to the lesson. Alright, now I have the rest of my images entered onto my page. If we view in the browser, my page now looks like this. So you can see how I just have one long column of images. And because we haven't added any of our CSS styles, this is the way we would expect the page to look. In the next exercise, we'll style the page with CSS so that we can get more of a grid-like structure to display our images.